Welcome inside the Daily Universe Talk. My name's Ethan Tanner.
And I'm Caleb Tonks. We're excited to talk some BYU basketball and other BYU sports with you guys today.
That's right. We're going to get right into things. We're going to talk about a little bit about BYU men's basketball, a little bit about women's basketball in our interview, and we will talk about some men's volleyball playing against USC, some big games over the weekend, as well as BYU baseball sweep of Houston on the road. Kind of some crazy stuff going on here at BYU with the sports. So let's go ahead and start with men's basketball. The season is over and the portal is open. And we talked about it last week, right, Caleb? Almost the entire team is gone.
Yeah.
It seems like the only person left is Boop, Hadim Boop. And so, let's talk about some of the commits. Let's talk about the bright side first. I think that's like we start there. So walk us through. Who do we have at BYU?
Yeah. So last week we mentioned how Colin Chandler was potentially going to commit to BYU, and that's ended up what happened. His family's returning back to BYU. He wants to play in front of a hometown crowd, and so Colin Chandler commits to BYU, and he's projected to be a starter for BYU.
Obviously Colin Chandler transferring from Kentucky. He followed Mark Pope over to Kentucky after his mission. He originally was a BYU commit when Mark Pope was the coach. Things changed drastically while he was on his mission, and he wanted to continue to be under Mark Pope. So went over there, and then last week the big news was that he posted he's in the portal and he's returning home. And that was before he officially committed to BYU. So it's kind of been expected at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, Colin Chandler, huge get for BYU. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a really good fit.
Yeah. I think to continue on with that, it's like his sophomore year compared to Richie's sophomore year was actually very comparable. You see, I looked at a tweet or something recently that showed Richie Saunders and Colin Chandler, and their stats were very similar. And so I think BYU's really hoping that he takes that leap when he comes in with Kevin Young in his program.
Yeah, I think I saw that same graphic as well. I think he had, what was it? It was over 10 points a game.
Yeah, it was about 10.
So that was incredible. That's kind of what BYU needs is somebody who can consistently come in and score that more than 10 points a game.
Yeah.
And Richie really was that guy. He was that deep threat. So hopefully we can see something like that from Chandler.
Yeah, I think he was also 40% from three. Just like the next guy that committed to BYU.
So, if things are to turn out the way it's expected, I would expect like Bruce Branch, the 5-star commit BYU has. He's going to be the in the paint threat more so, kind of your ball handler, I would expect, and then Colin Chandler to be that outside threat as well. So that's some good pieces.
Yeah. I know Colin Chandler's a sneaky athlete as well. We don't want to. It's some of his high school tape is like you go back and watch that. He had some crazy dunks and some great athleticism that he showed there. And I think if he's able to channel that and show that a little more, I think it could be really good for BYU.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then the next guy that committed to BYU just April 13th last night is Tyler Betsy. A 6'8", 6'9" forward who shot 40% from three. And that percentage only improved in ACC play for the Syracuse Orange. And he shot like four attempts per game. And so.
Yeah, I was looking at some highlights from him. He looks like he could be really good, a really good fit at BYU, especially because we were talking about it last week. Kevin Young really needs some people to support, and he really needs some shooters because it felt like BYU last season had a lot of guys that were maybe a little bigger or they were good inside the arc, but teams would just fill the paint because everything was just driving to the basket, and they're daring the Cougs to shoot.
Yeah.
And it just, the only one who was making shots was Kosic at the end of the season.
And
or Boskovic.
Yeah, Boskovic. I'm curious to see if Tyler Betsy kind of fills that Boskovic role for BYU next season. And yeah.
I was really sad to see Boskovic go into the portal, to be honest. Graduate. My bad. Kosic is in the portal. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Boskovic was really big there at the end of the season for the Cougars.
Yeah.
So they really need somebody who can come off the bench and replace him in a way. But then they also need guys that can start and do what he was doing.
True.
So I think Tyler Betsy is going to be a really good fit at BYU.
I think he'll most likely come off the bench for BYU and just anchor that depth. And then I really like what BYU's doing, prioritizing P5 transfers who have proven it at a Power 5 level.
Yeah.
Because last season we saw, Tyler Morus came in, and these other transfers, like Nate Pickens, I know he was hurt, but they didn't produce like BYU wanted them to. Mm-hmm. And so having players who have proved it at a P5 level is going to be very important for BYU moving forward.
I would agree with you. I think that in the past, Kevin Young has really prioritized just trying to find people that have potential. Mm-hmm. And I think he's sort of shifting that focus towards, like you said, guys that have proven it at a high level. Because ultimately, the Cougars took a bet on somebody like Abdullah Ahmed. Mm-hmm. And, coming from the G League, you kind of expected him. That's basically coming from the pros.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's professional leagues.
You would expect somebody like that would be able to produce at the lower level, at the NCAA level. But as we saw, Beto really looked horrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, when he entered the portal this last week, I was so excited. Yeah. I couldn't have been more happy. Right. Because I'm like, I wanted to see him gone.
I was really curious to see if he was going to stick around because he didn't enter his name in the portal for a couple days, and so I was like, oh.
Right.
But
I wonder if he didn't immediately enter because he thought that maybe he had his best shot was just to stick around, even if he's coming off the bench.
Oh yeah.
Because ultimately, I don't think anyone's going to want him other than maybe a lower level team. I don't even think Utah State's going to want him.
Yeah.
I think somebody from one of those lower end conferences is going to ultimately be the one that says, hey, we're willing to pay for somebody his size. And I think he'll thrive in an environment like that.
Right.
I don't think he's made for Big 12 basketball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that one couldn't be more ecstatic that he's gone.
Yeah, I get you. And then in terms of Alexei Kostic entering the portal, Robbie McCombs reported that Kostic asked for a dollar figure that BYU isn't comfortable matching, which is just kind of the day and age of college athletics and men's college basketball these days. I feel like it's unfortunate because I really thought Alexei Kostic was going to be an important piece for BYU. So there's potential that he comes back, but just like Rob Wright, there's potential he might come back as well. But
I mean, you can't blame these guys,
right,
even if they're probably not going to get paid somewhere else. Entering the portal. Try your chances somewhere else. Because if you're not even negotiating with anybody else, obviously your home court is going to be like, oh, well, we'll just pay you this because you're going to stay. You want to stay. So they have all the leverage in the negotiations. And we live in a day and age when the student athletes have the ability, at least in these in men's basketball and men's football, they have the ability to negotiate because those are the money-making sports.
Yeah.
And there is a whole there's a whole talk that needs to happen about whether that's moral or not. That's just the way things are, unfortunately, at this time. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. He's going to test the waters with, hey, can I get paid big by BYU to stay? Mm-hmm. Enter my name in the portal. See if somebody else will pay me that amount. If not, then he always has that fallback. Hey, you know what? I'll take a lesser amount and come back.
Exactly.
So, and I don't think there's any harm in doing that. I don't think that destroys any reputation or any how the coaches feel about him necessarily. Yeah. So, because that's just the reality that we live in.
True.
So I don't blame him. Would it suck to lose him? Yeah. Honestly, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't think it really hurts the future of the team that much to lose him. They're already losing everybody else. Roster, So it's going to be basically a new team anyways. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay, yeah. And then speaking of like Abdul Ahmed entering the portal, let's talk a little bit about a few transfers, especially at the center and in the front court that might fit BYU's needs. Keanu Dawes from Utah is a name to watch. His mom reportedly recently moved here to Utah. Robbie McCombs reported that. And he has like the toughness and grit I think that BYU really lacked last season from the 4 spot.
Yeah. And honestly, anything that the Cougars can take from the Utes makes me happy, to be honest with you. So I don't necessarily think that Utah's team was very good, other than Keanu Dawes.
Yeah, he was pretty sturdy for them. So.
Yeah, he looked really good. I remember seeing him in person. And he really, one of the things we kind of talked about was somebody like Beto didn't feel like he had the heart. His heart wasn't in the game. Yeah. Somebody like Keanu Dawes, though, that guy was a dog on the court.
Yeah,
he played his heart out when they played BYU.
Right.
And obviously that is a big rivalry, BYU versus Utah. That's the big game.
Right.
But more than that, you could see that he wanted to win, and not just for the rivalry. I remember seeing him in the post-game press conference, and he was just really emotional.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be a really good fit for BYU.
Yeah. And his uncle Derek Dawes played at BYU in the early 2000s. And another thing about him is that he shot like upper 30s from three this last season, and I think that 3-point percentage can only improve. And I think he's a pretty good athlete, and so he can really get his own at the rim as well.
Yeah, I think if BYU could get somebody like Keanu Dawes and have some of these other players, I think the next season is going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
Because honestly, somebody like Keanu Dawes starts at most schools. He might even be coming off the bench at BYU with the kind of players that BYU is expecting to get.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us about Eric. Yeah. That was one thing that I was really excited about.
Yeah, Eric, I think it's Ribe. I don't know how to pronounce it. 7'1" German center from UConn, who's in the portal that BYU's been in on. He was a top 50 recruit in the 2025 class, and he looks to anchor that center spot for BYU this upcoming season.
Yeah, and So he played at UConn.
He did, yeah.
They were on that. They obviously played in the NCAA championship game. They lost that game,
right?
But he wasn't starting, like you were saying.
He played behind Terrace Reed, who was quite a force for UConn at the 5 during their run to the national championship. Yeah, and it's interesting. You were saying something about it's the first time since 2021 BYU's had a 7-footer. That's right. 2021 BYU had Matt Harms. I know.
Yeah, that's right.
BYU fans will remember him. He was like 7'3" or something. He really anchored BYU's defense inside and also scored about double digits. I mean, he was like a double-double machine for BYU. That 2021 season.
Yeah, I remember watching a few games with him. He was pretty good.
Yeah, and so we're hoping Eric Ribe comes to BYU and is able to anchor that.
Yeah,
so
that'd be awesome. He's going to have to get a big payday, though, to get pulled over from UConn. That's a great program over there, especially coming off of that national championship appearance.
Yeah.
So
and 5-man or centers are like the biggest, of the most need, you could say, of top teams in the NCAA. So it's going to be a hard get for BYU.
But if they pull him, that could be huge.
Exactly.
It'd be huge.
And then Monday, or what was it, April 12th?
Yeah.
Rob Wright was on his visit to Kentucky with a number 1 recruit in the 2026 class, Tyron Stokes.
Yeah.
And Ethan, do you think he's going to go to Kentucky?
The crystal ball has him at 100% chance. And honestly, he's either going to Kentucky or he's coming back to BYU. Those seem to be the only options at this point.
Right. And
as much as Rob Wright really does fit well in the offense for BYU, I just don't think that he wants to be here anymore.
Yeah.
I think he liked his time here. I think he really did. But that it's going to be an all-new team.
Right.
It's kind of one of those situations where you remember Richie Saunders last season. He could have gone to the draft. But he decided to come back, even though the team was going to look wildly different the next season. I think it's a similar situation, except you have all those ties that Richie has to the state of Utah and not just BYU.
Right.
Rob Wright doesn't have. So I think, and based on his previous, how he's acted at Baylor, for example, I just don't really think that Rob Wright has that much loyalty to his school. He's mostly there to get a bag, which again, I don't really blame him for that.
He's a 6'1" point guard, and so his opportunities to play in the NBA or even professionally are going to be very limited.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week. I really think that his opportunity to make his big money is right now.
Exactly.
And so, because he's not going to be really that great, and historically guys that are that short in the NBA, they have to be super, super athletic, and he does have that athleticism, but they still don't last that long.
Right, it's like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
That size, that is just like, they have to really, really, really grind. I feel like they have to work twice as hard as just normal players who are like 6'6" and above, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah, I think about like prime Russell Westbrook 2016, back in those days.
Right.
I was like, he's not as undersized as Rob Wright is, But at the same time, that dude had to do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the MVP, but he had to, and so it's not impossible to be great as a shorter point guard, but you have to be able to do everything.
Right,
You have to be the hero. And I don't know, unfortunately, if Rob Wright has that gene in him. I think he's a great point guard, but like you said, just completely undersized. So to answer your question, I think he is going to go to Kentucky ultimately. I think Kentucky's going to pay him. I don't know if they'll pay him as much as BYU was willing. Honestly, I think they're going to pay him less. But I think he wants to get away from BYU at this point. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to Kentucky or BYU. Zoom Diallo is another player to watch for Kentucky. He's a point guard in the portal. I'm not sure that that decision will impact Rob's because he was a point guard that Kentucky's also pursuing. But I think they want Rob Wright more. I think most teams in the country would. But I think Rob Wright is going to probably end up going to Kentucky.
Yeah, and with Kentucky having stolen Mark Pope, stolen is not the right word. I think they just took him. BYU was happy to have him go over there. They got a huge payday for that. But Mark Pope, knowing the BYU environment super well, I think that it's kind of a comfortable transition to go from BYU to Kentucky or Kentucky to BYU. Like we kind of trading. It's almost like Kentucky's trading Colin Chandler for Rob Wright. I know there's not trades in the NCAA, but that's kind of how it feels. And I think with those coaches knowing each other and understanding those environments pretty well, I do think that there's that comfortable transition between those two teams. And they're both blue, so I think those teams they're comfortable wearing blue, each of them. So I think that's I think Rob Wright will go. I think that'll be ultimately what happens there. So but kind of moving on, we want to talk for a minute about women's basketball, and kind of we recapped their season a little bit last week, but we had an opportunity to talk to Kambree Barber. So let's kind of actually move to that and see what she had to say.
Welcome in, guys. I'm pleased to join here with Kambree Barber from BYU Women's Basketball. Kambree, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's good.
That's good. And so just wanted to ask you a few questions just about, basketball and about life. So the first thing we wanted to ask you about was, we know that your dad was your high school basketball coach for 3 years, and how do you think he influenced your just your work ethic and just basketball for you growing up?
Yeah, he really influenced me. I feel like I grew up in a gym. He coached with the boys, so I was always at the boys' practices, or I learned how to shoot with a boys' ball. And and then going into high school, after my freshman year, he actually switched over to girls, and I got to have him be my coach for the first time. Growing up, he always only coached my brother. He never coached me on any team, but he always encouraged me to get better. And then playing for him, it was definitely different at first. It caused a lot of fights at home, but he really influenced me to be a good hustle player, a good teammate, just like an overall good person on the basketball court, but also a good basketball player. And so I feel like growing up having him be my coach, I got pushed a little harder than some girls did, just because I could hear it on the court and at home. But overall, I feel like it helped me be the person I am now and the basketball player I am now, just because of the way that he raised me. But yeah.
Yeah. And so we know there's a couple Idaho connections on the BYU women's basketball team. Did you actually end up playing Brindley in high school?
So I don't remember playing Brindley, but she said that we played each other our freshman year because we both were on varsity and our varsity teams played each other. And that was the only other time that we had played Shelley. And then the rest of my high school, we never did play them.
Oh, nice. And so in regards to we know that you got married here in the winter break. How do you think that influenced your approach to basketball and your approach to just life in general?
Yeah, no, it definitely was a big change. in the middle of season 2. But I feel like it didn't change my approach to basketball as much as more I was more focused on basketball and not too worried about my social life because I had a husband at home, but also the change of like going home to him instead of like my teammates that I used to live with. But honestly, it kind of was a nice fresh air to go home to someone who wasn't there at practice and I could just tell him about my day without him knowing. And so I feel like that really helped my emotional state a little bit, but other than that, I feel like just made it a little easier on the basketball and social life. Like I didn't have to go on dates and, and live the college life, but it was more peaceful.
Yeah. And so turning the page a little bit, going towards like just how the season went and your guys' run in the WBIT tournament, we saw a lot of energy just from some of the bench players. And where did that energy come from? How did you guys like create that amongst your just amongst the team going into the postseason?
Yeah, no, I feel like when our energy is high, we play really well. And so I feel like our team is all in all the time. Even if we don't play, we know that the energy on the bench is something that gets the girls on the court going. And so I feel like we were all not selfish and just dived into the team. And I feel like that's what kind of helped us get energy, is not worrying about ourselves, but worrying about our team and our success. And we all wanted to win. So I feel like even in that last game, like we didn't want it to be over. And I know people, like, even if you were sitting, like, you didn't want it to be over. And so we all just did our part in bringing energy and like, okay, we got this, like next play, like we don't need to worry about the last plays, just like next play mentality and just bringing that energy and, seeing what happens.
Yeah. And I know that you had a little bit of an injury this season. How did coming back from that, just how was that process for you, and how did you turn that into a strength once you had the opportunity to start?
Yeah, so it was definitely really hard at first trying to figure out my rhythm with the team because they got to play all non-conference games together and they built that bond, and to just come in during conference and I feel like it was hard to get my rhythm back, but over time I feel like bonding with those girls during practices and during games, it really helped. And that just helped our chemistry and get back, just like helped me get back. They helped me get back. It was just like a good, yeah.
Yeah. And then moving forward, you guys have a lot of retention. A lot of players are coming back this next season. How do you think that's going to help you, and what kind of goals do you guys have for this upcoming season?
Yeah, it's nice that we have a lot of players coming back. I feel like we're getting older, so we're more experienced, and that really helps. Even the freshmen, like having 1 year under them is going to help us a lot. And I feel like we want to make the tournament. We want to do well in the tournament, and we want to have a winning season. I feel like we're all really motivated going into off season to continue the grind, to just get better, all of us personally and as a team. I feel like we're all really motivated to do better than we did last year. So I feel like it's good vibes, and yeah.
Yeah. And that's all for today. We would like to thank the former Rigby High grad, Kambree Barber, for joining us here today, and we wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you.
What an incredible run they had in the WBIT, and their energy off the bench was just incredible. I mean, that team was not the same without that energy, don't you think?
Yeah, I think they played really well down the stretch, and it's a good step in the right direction for the women's basketball program for seasons to come, especially next season. I think they're going to be, hopefully the standard is to make the tournament and maybe win a couple games. So
yeah, and it's returners like her that really and truly are going to be pivotal in this next season for the Cougars.
Exactly.
And especially with them only losing one player in Mariah Hudgens. I really think, and obviously all the seniors, but the only transfer was Mariah Hudgens. I really think that team, we talked about this last week, I think that team is going to be very well set.
Yeah.
Especially because of that energy that was brought. That team really feels like they're a team. They feel connected. Unlike I honestly felt like the men's basketball team didn't have that in them like the women's team did. So would love to see that from the men's team. Glad to see it with the women's team. That was really an exceptional opportunity for us to talk to her.
Yeah.
So wish her the best of luck, ultimately.
Yeah, well said. And so moving on, we just wanted to talk about some of the superlatives from BYU spring football.
Oh, yeah.
And so a couple of talking points that we wanted to talk about was just talk about wide receiver depth and linebacker depth. And so wide receivers is looking a little bare. When Parker Kingston ultimately left the program. But starters and players that are kind of impressing, or who did impress in spring ball, were Cody Hagan, and then other players like...
Well, we saw Legend Glasker at the deep ball.
Yeah,
that's, if you're unaware, that's Isaiah Glasker's cousin. He is a freshman this season playing wide receiver. And in spring ball, we saw some film. He looked really good on those deep routes, which I think is a good replacement for somebody like Chase Roberts.
Yeah.
Even though, like we talked about, Chase wasn't really that fast. But so if Legend has some speed,
right.
It'd be a really good replacement because BYU doesn't have anybody at that position right now. I mean, with Parker Kingston gone, you have no speed.
Right.
Ultimately, I mean, he was undersized, but he was fast.
Yeah.
And BYU is always, it feels like every time they've been good, they've had somebody who's fast. You had Puka Nakua to run those quicker rounds, and you had him in the deep ball threat as well. I mean, obviously he's turned into one of the NFL's best wide receivers.
Right.
But then you had Parker Kingston that came after him to kind of replace that speed. And so I think BYU really needs somebody who can show that they're fast and they have good hands.
Yeah. And then a couple other players, JoJo Phillips and Kyler Casper.
Yeah.
Those two, Kyler Casper's 6'6". JoJo Phillips is above 6 foot as well. And so those are going to be some great, I think, deep ball. But we need to see them just be consistent. I know JoJo Phillips had some drops early last season. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I really need to see JoJo Phillips prove himself because there was a lot of hype around JoJo, I felt like, this last season.
Yeah, there was.
But he really underperformed people's expectations. And BYU relied heavily on the 1 and 2 with Chase and
JoJo.
Yeah, well, they relied heavily on Parker is what I was trying to say. So, and both of those guys gone now with Chase and going to the draft and Parker with his ultimately untimely exit, if you ask me.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting because BYU has 14 wide receivers on the roster. 7 of those are freshmen.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see who develops and who steps up to be that threat in the wide receiver room. Ultimately, you have a great quarterback with Bear Bachmeier coming back as a sophomore. So getting a good pass is not going to be the issue.
Yeah.
It's going to be whether or not these wide receivers can get themselves open and they can fight against those cornerbacks.
Correct.
So,
yeah. Get out of their breaks. I
exactly.
guess you could say. And then moving over to running back, LJ Martin's going to be your number 1.
Yeah, obviously.
And then Sione Moa, after having last year's injury, is hopefully going to be back and be consistent. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And then behind him, I know the coaches are really excited about true freshman Devon Eka, who's also from Lehigh, as well as Levin Jaden Glasker.
I've been hearing some good stuff about him.
And so he's projected at that third running back. And so it's looking like there's still some question marks as far as behind LJ, how those running backs are going to produce. But I think they're feeling pretty good about that depth there.
Yeah, and it's interesting looking at the roster. The offense is the big question, other than quarterback and linebackers. It feels like the big question is who's going to be running back 3, who's going to be wide receiver 2, because and then there's also the question of the tight ends because BYU hasn't really had some super great tight ends over the last few years. And
to go along with that, BYU is going to run a lot of 12 personnel.
Yeah.
Which is Walker Lyons and Roger Saliapaga are probably going to be on the field a lot at the same time. And they're going to be able to contribute in the pass-catching game for BYU this upcoming season.
And obviously Walker Lyons being the older brother of Ryder Lyons, who's currently serving a mission,
Right.
expected to come to BYU after he serves his mission. I think, what did he say, 1 year is what he
Yeah.
wanted to serve, so he should be at BYU next season. Probably not starting,
Right.
but he's the highly touted quarterback, expected to replace Bear Bachmeier eventually. And so his brother transfers from USC, plays the tight end position. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I really like the potential of some of those skill positions for BYU. And so moving over to the defensive side of the ball, I think linebacker is the deepest position potentially on the team.
Yeah,
You have players like Isaiah Glasker, who returned. You have Kedu Luave transferring in from Cal, and then you have Siale Serra. But
Yeah.
I know one player that BYU's really excited about is Jake Clifton off of a mission. He's looked pretty good for the Cougars. He's projected to be that middle behind Kedu Luave, and so.
Yeah, and so, like I was trying to get there, I'd say that defense looks really strong.
Yeah.
They have a lot of returners with Glasker coming back. Obviously, you lose Jack Kelly, but you have so many guys behind him that ultimately, like, cornerback looks great.
Right.
You've got linebackers look great. Defensive linemen look great. Like, there's just, it's great. I mean, you even have, I was looking at the heaviest guy you have on your whole roster, Justin Kirkland. He redshirted last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling you, I saw him at Media Days last season. That is a big dude. And I'm excited to see what he can do. He's transferred from Oklahoma State, 6'3", 335 pounds.
Right.
So that's a big man.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what he can do
Yeah,
this season.
I think he's going to anchor the run quite a bit for BYU.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough getting past that defensive line. I don't know if there's going to be. I think BYU is going to be a really, really good against the run defense.
I think so. Yeah.
So I don't know if running is going to work too well, which is going to force them into tough passing situations. And then you have Trey Alexander at corner. So there's like all kinds of stuff going on here.
Yeah, I think I do have some questions with corner depth behind Evan Johnson and Trey Alexander.
Yeah.
You got Javen Williams transfer from Mississippi State, who comes into BYU and is projected in that 2 deep. But who else is going to step into that depth at corner is kind of a question.
Well, I think the tough thing is, so Evan Johnson, 6'0",
Right.
he's pretty tall for corner. Same with Trey Alexander, 6'2".
Yeah.
Those are really tall cornerbacks. Usually they're under 6 feet.
Right.
But you do have somebody like Jonathan Cabella, who
He's-
could step up and he's at the corner, but he's undersized at 5'10".
Yeah, but the thing about Jonathan Cabella is he's projected to play the nickel, and so
see.
He's more of the he'll come in certain packages along with Kenan DeVries or Tommy Prasis. Those are some of the other guys who are looking at the nickel as well.
Yeah.
And so
So I guess in terms of cornerback, we're really just going to have to see who can step up, like you said. I mean, they have on their roster a couple of guys that are pretty big, actually, for corner.
Right.
So I think that, almost everybody on their roster is over 6 feet at corner position, which is really rare. At least I feel like that's rare to see. Most of your better corners typically are under 6 feet.
True.
Despite having to get way up there to reach that ball. But yeah, that's definitely something that they're going to have to address.
Yeah, I know BYU recruits. BYU has prioritized recruiting taller and faster corners at here, and so that's going to be a position that I just would love to see how they improve their depth in fall camp, and so.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens there. But in terms of the team as a whole, I'm excited to see how Kelly Papinga is able to run that defense. And I trust Kalani Sitake. I think this is going to be a great team, a great season for the coming up. I think he's put together a good roster if we can answer some of those questions we talked about.
And to go along with Kelly Papinga and how I think he might run his defense, I think it's going to be very multiple. Jay Hill ran a very 4-3 look, and I think Kelly Papinga, just coming from Bronco Mendenhall, he's going to run more of that 3-4, and even some 4-2-5, and I think it's going to be very influx depending on who BYU's playing, what kind of defense they're going to run. I think they're going to have that flexibility. So
all I want to say is I do not want to hear the announcers keep saying bend and don't break.
Yeah.
That was the most annoying thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
2 seasons ago when BYU was not great, that just defensive structure did not work.
Yeah.
So anything but that is
Right.
what I want.
Exactly.
But yeah, moving on, we want to talk a little bit about BYU men's volleyball. It's kind of interesting that BYU has men's volleyball because they're not in the Big 12. Big 12 doesn't have men's volleyball, so they're in the MPSF league where they play a lot of West Coast teams. And so BYU was playing an in-conference opponent in USC over the weekend. They played them back-to-back nights in the field house.
Yeah.
USC ranked number 4 in the nation, so really good team. And BYU was able to take them down 3-1 on Friday night. Really, really interesting set of circumstances. Looking at the box score, BYU won the first set, lost the second set, won the third set in extra points, and then won in the fourth set. It really looked like there was a lot of errors from
Each side, it looks like.
that's pretty normal, but there was a lot of errors in that fourth set for USC
Yeah.
that just did not. That just ended up that was what broke the camel's back for that team, which is not what they did on Saturday night. On Saturday night, I was actually at that game. It was senior night, and it looked very similar. BYU won the first set, lost the second set, won the third set, and then we got to that fourth set, which is where BYU ended up winning the night before.
Yeah.
But then it felt like USC stopped causing errors because they changed to a different serving style. Instead of trying to do top spin, they jumped into like a more float serve.
Yeah, I got you.
And they were targeting where they were hitting those more. And so BYU wasn't able to get quite as good looks anymore. And BYU started making mistakes. And so they had to start coming back from behind, which is really tough to do in volleyball.
Yeah.
Because you usually have to serve even if you start going on a run. And it's especially in men's volleyball, it's tough to score when you're serving just because they get that first defensive set. And they made like almost no errors. I mean, looking at the box score here, compared to the fourth set on Friday, USC scored or made 8 errors versus 4 in the fourth set, which changed things. That was enough to change things around for them to win that.
Right.
And then they only had 2 errors in that fifth set. So.
Yeah, and then looking at the kills disparity, BYU had 62 kills compared to USC's 46, and so that was pretty telling and of how BYU won the game is that they were able to attack.
Yeah, they destroyed them on Friday with kills, but then you look at the disparity on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was 60. I mean, BYU still outkilled them at 68-60.
Right.
But they actually had less errors too. But I mean, it really just felt like maybe BYU didn't make that many mistakes, but they just. I mean, there was a lot of kills that it was just like USC just had like a crater kill in front of the 10-foot line. So they just looked better on Saturday, especially late. So an unfortunate loss for the men's team, but going 1-1 against number 4 in the nation, I think that's a great look.
Yeah, that is.
So, and pushing them to 5 sets on that second game too. So it took them to the very last set to take them down. It wasn't like they swept BYU.
Right.
So I think BYU is looking really good going into the tournament here. They have got a few more games before that tournament, but next time they're here in Provo, it's going to be starting the tournament, which they get to host, which is awesome. So hopefully I'll get to go watch some of that. I don't know if you will, but
I might show up. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That could be really good. Yeah. So moving on to BYU baseball, they were able to sweep Houston. Houston was the last ranked team in the Big 12, and so it's kind of expected that BYU should win that series. And so with that series win, BYU now jumps into the top half of the Big 12 in baseball standings. And so
barely, but yeah,
just barely. And so hopefully they're able to keep this momentum going with that series win into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their record, it makes sense that they're in the top half of the Big 12. I mean, they got swept by West Virginia. But every other Big 12 series that they've played, they've been able to either win or come close to winning.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati, they won some close games to go 2-1 at home against them.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, they split again, or they won that series too, winning one in extra innings and winning one. I was at the end of March, I was at that game against Oklahoma State with a walk-off 2-run home
That's
run
right,
in
yeah.
the bottom of the ninth to win. So Oklahoma State, another good team. So, I mean, they lost the series against Baylor, but they've looked good. They've been able to win games. They haven't been swept other than that West Virginia game. So I think they're right where they need to be.
Right.
At 50 or almost 50%. They're sitting at their record currently 19-16, 8-7 in conference.
Yeah.
They've played some good out of conference teams too, so that makes sense where they're at.
Like on the 13th, just last night, they won a game against Lamar.
Yeah.
0-0, and then they have a series upcoming against Arizona State, which is going to be very, very important for their Big 12 seeding, things like that. So
Yeah, Arizona State, really good team, ranked in the top 25 at 23. So it should be good to see what they can do against the Sun Devils.
Right.
Ultimately, it's expected that they'll probably lose, but I think this team has some grit. So I think there's some opportunities for them to take home some wins and prove themselves. And I think this BYU team has some potential to be great.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and looking forward for BYU track and field, Jane Hedengren, obviously we talked about last week, though not this weekend, but the weekend before, she was able to set the 10,000 meter NCAA record by 4 seconds, mind you. And in her first ever performance, by the way, she's expected to run this next weekend at the Brian Clay Invitational in California. And that should be most likely her last performance in anything more serious before the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see, I work for the track team. I'm excited to see how they do, where those things fall.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to watch some
Remind
running.
me who's going to be participating from BYU track and field in next week's event.
So it's expected to be mostly the distance group. They're actually going to be at 2 meets.
Yeah.
But mostly it's distance group in Azusa, California, at the Brian Clay Invitational. And then the rest of the team is traveling to Long Beach State. It's what's called the Pacific Coast Invitational, and that's most of the throwers and it's a couple of jumpers.
Gotcha.
So, mostly it's a distance weekend. That's BYU's well known for their distance running.
Right.
And so that's the main thing this weekend.
Yeah.
And then they host the Robinson Invite, their outdoor home invitational in about 2 weeks. So that'll be their last little thing where they celebrate seniors.
Right.
And do some participate in some events, and then it'll be off to Big 12 championships.
Yeah.
So,
and then another question: How much do you think Jane's going to improve on her 10,000?
I wouldn't expect her to run the 10,000.
Okay, not this race.
And it's a possibility, but I'm expecting her to run the 5,000. It's really hard to run in the same day, the 5,000 and the 10,000 at a high level.
I didn't know what race she was running.
So I think she'll probably run the 5,000 because she hasn't had a chance to break the NCAA record. Honestly, she holds the 5,000 record in the indoor, so this will be her chance to break the 5,000 outdoor and get a time that. Because at this point she has obviously a time that's going to almost guarantee. I would hope it guarantees that she makes the NCAA tournament for the 10,000.
Right.
So now it's just a matter of can she get 5,000, potentially maybe a steeplechase. I don't know if they'll run her in that.
Right.
But just looking at potentially these other events, getting entries because you want to get a fast time.
Yeah.
Most likely I would expect her to run the 5,000 and just be watching for if she breaks that record. So it'll be exciting.
I'm excited to tune in.
Yeah. But that's all we have for today. So this is signing off. This is the Daily Universe Sports Talk with Ethan Tanner and Caleb Tonks. We are excited to have you, and we will talk to you guys later.
Yep, we'll see y'all.
Go Cougs.